Speaks. By that time, I had crossed my path with Meher Baba. And I had started trying to read it and faced the same difficulty we all face when we read God Speaks. Then some friend of mine mentioned to me that Don Stevens, who is one of the editors of God Speaks, is going to be coming to Bombay and do a workshop on God Speaks for all those who would like to attend. I think I had to pay the princely sum of 3,000 rupees for the privilege. But the condition which everyone had to meet was they had to finish reading the entire book of God Speaks. And this was proving to be difficult for me as it was for everybody else. Now suddenly I realize that tomorrow morning was the Don Stevens presentation in somebody's house in a building called Usha Kiran here in Bombay. And I had not yet finished reading God Speaks. So I sat up the whole night, really worked at it to read it and finally finish reading it. But then I began to notice something strange about this book, God Speaks. Like I think, told most of you on Thursday and on other days, of my experiences with energy and being attuned with energy. I had discovered that I was very energy sensitive and capable of radiating energy. But this book, therefore, spoke to me in a different language altogether. I began to feel the energy of every single word, every single letter in this book. And for me, it was quite a freaky experience. So the next morning when I arrived at the workshop venue, I was early. I chose the front row seat, and Don Stevens was doing something on the whiteboard. I waited for him to finish. As he turned around, I asked him, Don, I must share with you something very freaky that happened to me when I was reading Don's God Speaks. So he asked me what. So I told him that this book is radiating energy. Every word, every letter in this book is shooting out some kind of energy which goes beyond the words and the meanings of the words. What does that mean, Don? Don looked at me square in the eyes. He gave me a big, broad grin, and he told me, go sit down. So I went and sat down quietly and meekly. Then the workshop started. He started to tell everybody. I must tell you that when Baba wrote this book, God Speaks, he wrote it when he was in silence, using alphabet board hand gestures. And it was actually written for him by Erich, who he would dictate to through alphabet board and hand gestures. And then every word that Erich wrote had to be shown to Meher Baba again. And Meher Baba's handpicked and selected every single word in this book with his own hands. And then later I read that Meher Baba has said, for those of you who don't understand this book, put it under your pillow. Put it under your pillow. You'll get the full message of this book. He also said, for those of you who read this book fully, it'll help you to work through your impressions. So then suddenly I understood the importance of this book. This was the most unusual book of all books. So I decided to read it. Then one evening at a party in someone's house, he was also, and his wife also, Meher Baba lovers. I put my foot in my mouth, which I'm usually in a bad habit of doing, and said that I would like to do a workshop on God Speaks. And then I thought how many days this workshop would take, because it's a very involved book. I thought maybe it will take a week. My friend looked at me and he said, Jimmy, no one will be there with you for a week. You start and finish this workshop in 1 day flat. You're mad or what? Word of God Speaks in 1 day? Impossible. Then I went away and I was thinking about that. And I read the book again and again and again. And I said, why not try to finish this workshop, Introduction of God Speaks, in 1 day itself? It was my first workshop of God Speaks. And to my great privilege and pleasure, Cyrus and Soumya Kambata were present. It was at home. They brought me a gift, a picture of Meher Baba. And I completed, with great difficulty, I completed it in 1 day. By the end of that day, it was a late evening, I completed. And to my astonishment, people stood up and almost clapped. I said, wow, Baba, so this is how you give us messages. From that day onwards, I have not looked back, talking about, reading about God Speaks. From that day onwards, I started my love affair with God Speaks. Okay, guys, is that enough of a story? Any questions?
Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you for that.
Thank you so
You're
much
all
for
welcome.
sharing this.
So thank you all and love you all. Avtar Meher Baba
Baba
ki
Ki
jai.
Jai. Will you be having one more session of Baba Speaks?